In this video, I will walk you through the process of booting the Renesas RZG2L SOM module entirely from an SD card. So let's get started. First, you will need an SD card with at least 4 GB of storage. Insert the SD card into your PC where you have created the Yocto build for this MPU because we will be using the artifacts that we created from the build like this. So from here we will be using the kernel, device tree and root file system files like these files. So let's detect our SD card on our PC. In my case, it has been detected as MMC BLK0. So delete any pre-existing partitions using fdisk command. So we will use D for deleting the partition and again for deleting the second partition, and we will write W to write the changes to the disk. Now we can see that all of the pre-existing partitions are deleted. So next we need to create two partitions on the SD card. One partition would be for storing kernel and device tree binary, while the other one will contain root file system. So let's create the partition using fdisk command again. For a new partition, we will use n within fdisk command, and the partition type would be primary, and keep the partition number to default. Sector size should be default, and the total size for the first partition would be approximately 500 MB. So we will be using only 100 to 200 MBs, but to be on the safe side, we have created it for the size of 500 MB. So remove the signature, and it says that it has created first partition of Linux type. Same for the second partition. Keep the partition to primary. Partition number would be default. First sector size would be default, and the last size would be kept default because we want that rootfs could use the rest of the storage of the SD card. So we will keep it to default. Remove the signature, and here you can see we have created the second partition as well. So after creating both partitions, we need to change the partition type of partition 1 from Linux to FAT32 file system. For this, we will use T command within fdisk command. So it asks that for which partition we need to change the type. So we will go for 1. With L command, it will list all the options to change the partition types to. So from here, we need to switch it to FAT32. So we will give it B here. So now it says that it has changed the partition from Linux to FAT32 file system. To verify the partition table and to ensure that both required partitions are correctly configured, we will now list the partitions with -L option. So here you can see the first partition is of size 500 MB and is of FAT32 file system type, and partition 2 is for root file system and it will use the rest of the storage from SD card and type is Linux. So now we need to format the partitions. So for first partition, we will use make file system of vfat type, and -v for verbosity, -c check for checking if it has any bad blocks on the drive, and f flag for specifying the fat format, which can be of 32-bit, 16-bit or 12-bit. So we will give 32 here, and then the partition number. So now it will format the first partition to vfat32 file type. Likewise, we will do it for the second partition, but here we have to format it in the format of ext4 because we have to keep the root file system here. And we will label this partition to rootfs and then provide the name of partition. So it has now formatted the second partition as well. After formatting, remove and reinsert the SD card to mount the partitions automatically to the system. After inserting the card again, check the mount points. So here you can see for my SD card, the first partition is mounted to here and the second one is mounted to this partition with the label of rootfs. So let's go to the first partition. We will copy the device tree binary and kernel file here. So this is the device tree binary. We will copy it. In the same way, we will copy the kernel. So now we will go to the root file system partition. And here we need to unzip the root file system. From the deploy directory, we will load second stage bootloader and FIP image to the SD card. So at first, we will load the bootloader file with boot parameters to boot from the eSD card and place it on the sector 1. Then we will load second stage bootloader. And lastly, we will load the FIP file. The SD card is now ready, so unmount the partitions and remove the SD card safely from the PC. Now we need to change the mod to eSD boot. So here the first two pins are on. The third is off and then it is on again. And then we will adjust switch 1 on the SOM module, whose configuration is given as here. So we will keep both of the switches in this state. Both of them will be on. The first switch represents the normal operation and the second one represents the SD card mod. So here we can see that both are on. Now we need to insert the SD card in the micro SD card slot on the SOM module. And after that, power up the board. So now press the reset button to boot from the eSD card. Here you can see the bootloader is running. U-boot has handed over the control to the kernel and the systemd services are being loaded. Some of them are failing as I have loaded Western image and no graphical displays attached at the moment. So the Linux has booted from the SD card. Log in with the root user. So these are some logs of audio and video interface. So now we are able to run any command in here. And that's it. We have successfully booted the Linux on this evaluation board. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.